Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we are back doing live streams. And today we are here to talk about the Asia Cup squad because the Asia Cup squad will be announced tomorrow by afternoon because the selection meeting is summoned at 1:30 p.m. And of course, after that, we are going to be talking about what is going to be the squad after tomorrow. But today we're going to here to predict it, who can possibly make it because there are a lot of fitness issues concerning the Indian team, and that's one of the reasons why the selection process has been delayed for quite a long time because Pakistan announced their squad a week earlier, a couple of weeks earlier, and of course, Afghanistan and Bangladesh and Nepal also had announced their squad. But for India, they definitely had to wait because of several reasons, because of fitness, because of Bumrah and KL Rahul, Shreyas Iyer, if I have to just pick out names. So today here we are to talk about it to really see how things are going to be, especially when it comes to the squad. Like Sandeep Bani, Jared, I'll start with Sandeep Bani. Obviously, the anticipation is building up to this particular moment as to who's going to make it to the 15. With Asia Cup, there is no 15 you have to announce, but it's still better to go with the 15 to zero in on the 15 players before you really jump into who it can really be.
I think there is some sort of echo from your end.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I couldn't get your question. I think there was some echo.
Okay, so what I really put up there was when it comes to the selection process, especially when it comes to the Asia Cup, we're looking at different angles as to who's going to be fit, who's not going to be fit, and
Yeah.
these kind of factors as well. But now come tomorrow when you're really announcing that particular squad, what do you keep in your mind? Because for one area you have to look at different fitness of players. For another reason, you have to look into the form of players as well. And other teams have already announced it. Now you're just waiting for the clearance of other players. How do you really go about with the situation?
Yeah, I think with the experienced players or the key players like KL Rahul or Shreyas Iyer, there is always a certain kind of bias, or people, or I mean, the selectors really want to go after them or take them into the team once they're fit, because now there is hardly any time left before the World Cup. And if they don't get a proper run in the Asia Cup, or probably after that, you just have the three match ODI series against Australia. So I think that's very little time to get going and get the momentum back into your game. And I don't want India to make the same mistake that they made in the last T20I World Cup, where they had a certain plan, but due to lack of form, players like Avish Khan couldn't really turn up for the occasion, and then you had to fall back into a plan B of getting in the experienced Mohammad Shami.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he had a bad impact or a negative impact in that T20 World Cup, but I still feel that you need to have a set plan and a set 15 or 16 to choose among, and to back for the remainder of the Asia Cup, the ODI series against Australia, and World Cup, because I don't want to see too much of experimentation. Obviously, fitness is a key concept, because you have some of the key players in this Indian lineup going to make a comeback in the ODI format, like Bumrah, and probably you might get to see a KL Rahul or a Shreyas Iyer as well back from injury. So it is going to be very important to see how they go. Talking about, I think whether you prefer the experienced players, or you really go after the, I mean, the talented players who are in great nick of form, players like Tilak Verma. I still feel that in Asia Cup, if you want to try a youngster, a player who is in red hot form, a player like Tilak Verma, you have to try him out in the Asia Cup, because post the Asia Cup, I don't want to see any sort of experimentation where, due to some sort of injury or something else, the new player is coming in.
Couple, I don't think we were 34 minutes late. The stream was scheduled at 10:45 because India are playing Ireland as well. So just have to manage that, because India are on the verge of India have actually won the game. So
Yeah.
that was another thing which we had to focus on because that was a good game which happened. We had to see how Bumrah was bowling. That was the main highlight before we come and talk about who are the players who can make it, because today's performance really matters, especially when it comes to a couple of positions. Now let's pick, for example, Prasidh Krishna, Arshdeep Bumrah, or for that matter, Sanju Samson. Their performance today really matters because with Indian selectors, it's always a recency bias. And if they had gone on to do really well today, tomorrow when you're going to summon that meeting, that really matters because the first thing that they're going to be talking about is Sanju's off a very good run. Bumrah is bowling well, Prasidh has bowled well, and in for the matter, even Arshdeep has bowled well. So shall we pick all of them? I'll come to Jared now. Obviously, we've put a small light on what the team can do, but the major issue is obvious. The major issue is of course going to be as to how you're going to really, come out of this particular whole situation in terms of the fitness and propel it in a better way, especially when you're announcing the 15. Because always it's been the case that you've never had to rely so late on certain players, but here you are giving them the extra bit of chance, as to let's let them prove their fitness, let them prove their match fitness, or let them pass the fitness test, then we'll announce it. So, are we relying too much on like couple of players to announce the entire squad?
Yeah, I mean, in many ways we are because we these are the players who've done it for us for a long time, and that kind of the trust, that amount of trust that we have on these players have really increased a lot. And compared to that, a lot of these players are coming in younger, and it seems like it does seem like these young players, it's taking them a little longer to get used to the international stage. So that's where you feel like the Indian team is going through a huge transition, and in that case, you will have to rely on the senior players who have done well for us in the past. You've already were already acclimatized to the international conditions. So that's the one place where India has struggled a lot in the past few months, where even these players, I mean, Virat Kohli is just come into form. Rohit Sharma as well. He's not really lived up to the tag that we have, that or the performance that we know we can expect out of him. So these are the issues when it comes to batting. Also, someone like Suryakumar Yadav in the one day format hasn't really clicked as well. People expected a lot from him there. It's not happened at all. So these are some of the issues that India are facing, and you're right. That's the reason why we are focusing, or rather, we need a few players to always raise their hands, because they've been doing it for so long now that we're used to it, and the other players need a little longer to get used to the pressures of international cricket.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because that's where, especially when it comes to just picking out on youngsters and throwing them right in the deep sea might not be the right way. Yeah, Asia Cup squad should ideally be your World Cup 15 as well, if you have to talk about ideal circumstances. But at the moment, you have to say you might have to take the leverage and say maybe there could be even a couple of changes for the World Cup. And that's not a good thing because often seen that come the World Cup, you need to play your best possible 11. And even Asia Cup is a major tournament because that is your best possible tournament. Try out your best playing 11 before the marquee event, which is going to start on October 8th. Because India have got what 3 1 days against Australia right after the Asia Cup. Let's say if India plays 4 games in the Asia Cup, that is two in the Super Six and then two in that Super Fours as well. So if India goes on to play that, and if India plays a final, that's all of 5 to 6 games there. If India goes on to play all the games, that's 5 6 games plus 3. So you've got 9 games in all ideal circumstances before the World Cup, before the game is Australia. So by then you need to at least zero in for before the fifth game which you play that what is your ideal playing 11. You still have issues with your Shreyas Iyers, KL Rahuls, and who not. With Shreyas Iyer especially, the break has been way too long. He last played a match way from February, March, and he's not really shown up since then. Actually, he played in February against Australia, then won a Test match. Even there, he was not completely fit. So it's way too long for them. So, Sanjiman, if you had to really pick up between these two, if you have just one choice, KL Rahul or Shreyas Iyer, who do you pick before we dwell deep into the batting order and everything else?
Yeah, I think if you just ask me to pick between KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer, I think based on recent performances, or I mean performances over the last 3 4 years for Team India in the middle order, I think KL Rahul is a much more valuable commodity when you talk about the ODI format, because he can also take the responsibility with the gloves as well. Right now, I don't know whether he'll be fit enough to do that, but if he's 100% fit, then you can bank on KL Rahul to keep for you in the ODI World Cup as well. So definitely, both are very important, because Shreyas Iyer over the past 1.5 years before he got injured, he was India's second highest run scorer after Rishabh Pant in the ODI format, because he was consistently rescuing the ship, because the top three were not in the best of forms. And then you had the middle order, mainly in terms of Rishabh Pant and Shreyas Iyer handling the ship. But right now, I think both are coming after an injury. You have to see how Shreyas Iyer goes. But India right now needs that wicket keeping slot as well, because I wouldn't want to waste a player like Ishan Kishan in that middle order looked absolutely mediocre in the last series that he played, ODIs that is. And I don't feel okay. Sanju Samson is still a better shout than Ishan Kishan, and he got some runs under his belt today. But he did not really look to me in the best of forms in the West Indies series. But then again, he was batting out of place. So keeping all those things in mind, I think KL Rahul will be ahead in terms of importance when you compare him in respect to Shreyas Iyer. But I think you need to have both Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul come the ODI World Cup if you really want to dominate in that middle overs.
Absolutely, I agree with you. That's why I'll take one of the questions from just Kapil as well. He says Asia Cup is not going to be walk in the park. You have to play best against Pakistan. I have to say, maybe for the first ever time in a long time, you can say Pakistan are slightly favorites for this game, for all these games, primarily because of the consistency they have in the 11. At least they have a set batting order, which India don't at this point. And that is a worrying sign for them because India are just, what, 1 month and more away from the World Cup. And we still do not have a consistent batting order, whereas Pakistan have a consistent batting order. And in addition to that, they're going to be playing a series against Afghanistan in Sri Lanka, and they are also playing LPL. So they are much more favorable with the conditions in comparison with the Indian players, because Indian players are in Ireland, West Indies, were not playing all those useless T20 games. And then you are talking about Asia Cup 50 overs all of a sudden. So it doesn't make any sense. So in that particular facet, at least, Pakistan are much more better equipped. But yeah, before we get in the batting order, Jaren, if you have to really now put up a middle order, especially when it comes to a set batting order of 4, 5, 6, because 6 is going to be Hardik, 7 is going to be Jadeja. So now 4 and 5 is not yet decided. In that, one of the position is a wicket keeper, and KL Rahul only makes it to any of our teams if he's going to keep the wickets. Also, he doesn't get a dat entry, and that's one of the reasons why we've been waiting for him as well. In that particular regard, who plays at 4 and 5? KL Rahul is 1 in that. Who is the 4 or who's the 5?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be an easy decision whatsoever because there are so many names out there. You don't even know if KL Rahul is going to be fit enough to keep. So I genuinely don't think that KL Rahul is going to be ending up keeping because that's not going to help him in his recovery at all. And there is still a long way to go. That injury was pretty brutal. So for him to, especially to the spinners that up close to the stumps, I mean, sitting on his haunches all the time is not going to be an easy one whatsoever. But if he is fit, obviously you pick him because he's been phenomenal in the one-day format. Pretty much underrated because he's genuinely struggled in the test and the T20 format. I mean, the T20 as well. And it's become a fashion or a trend to go after KL Rahul. So people haven't really noticed that in the one-day format he's done well since the World Cup, but having said that, I think for me, KL Rahul obviously walks in. I still think if both of them are fit, it probably would be Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul, right? Because I mean, for me, I think Sky probably is going to get dropped because now Indian team doesn't really have any more rope to give him. And compared to that, I think Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul both have performed well. So if there's an opportunity, and even Sanju as well has been very intermittent. He's not really come good all the time. And as much as I genuinely would enjoy Sanju in that World Cup team, if these two are fit, I don't really see him again fitting into that 11. So for me, I think your 4 and 5 would be KL and Shreyas. And then probably you have, if there's anyone with an outside chance, it's Tilak Verma because he's a left-handed batter. One, he can ball a bit as well. But then again, that is also a long way to go. Probably, I think in the Asia Cup, I think he's going to get selected, and then probably he'll get his opportunity to audition for the number 4.
Interesting that you mentioned that because it all depends on certain factors as well, and who's better, Sky or Sanju. We'll talk about that. Too much experiment creates more ruckus and confusion than security. Yeah, that is the baseline of any team environment. I mean, experimentation is good, but when should you have experimented? Should you have experimented at this point in the stage when you have 2 months away from the World Cup, or should you have experimented at least a year ago? Because last year nobody cared about the ODIs. They were saying it's a T20 World Cup year. And if you remember in 2008 or 2011, when we won the World Cup, we started our preparation in 2008 when we started building that team. So here you are in 2023 with 50 days to go. You still have no idea who is going to be your number 4. I can understand. I'll give them a leeway because you had a set number 4, number 5 right after the 2019 World Cup where KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer was doing the bulk of it. They did really well in tough conditions. So that was where they were. No, at least we had the solidity there. It is unfortunate that both of them got injured at the same time, and also one of your bowlers. So it really took Indian team by storm. And so whatever flack you're giving them, I think it's somewhere undue as well, because Indian team kind of zeroed in on who was going to be a number 4, number 5 in 2020 or 21 at least, when you had KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer doing that bulk of the job, or maybe even Rishabh Pant to the next one. But look at the people who got injured there. Rishabh Pant gets a car accident. Shreyas Iyer had to go under a back injury, and KL Rahul had to go under a thigh injury. So you can't really blame Indian team here. I mean, we blame them enough. Maybe this one area, I think there's a lot of unnecessary flack which has been thrown at the management. Now you can't anticipate these kind of situations, and this all happened in the last 5 months. Now here you are, you had no one-day games. You had 3 1 days against Australia. Then here you are, you had 3 1 days against West Indies, and all games you have is Asia Cup. So all these players are now injured, and you have only this many games to experiment as well. Maybe that's what I'll give a slight bit of leeway to the Indian team management, maybe for the very few times which I really give them. But yeah, let's pull out the Indian predicted squad. Sandipani, Jaren, I'll just put that on the screen right now. This is our predicted squad for tomorrow, which they're going to be picking. But before Ajit Agarkar is going to do it, we are here to sit and possibly help you people understand what's going to be the squad. I'll come to Jaren first, then to Sandipani before that. Jaren, you already did mention about what is going to be Shreyas Iyer, or Shreyas Iyer is going to really make it to the team if he's fit. But is it fair to really put in Shreyas Iyer, because KL Rahul at least gives you that keeping element? And I think whatever news I've heard is that KL Rahul has been keeping in NCA, and he's been only looked into as a keeper batter. And the communication is very clear. If he's fit, he's going to come in as a keeper batter. But whereas for Shreyas Iyer, he's going to play primarily as a batter, and he's not played any cricket. With KL Rahul, at least he played half the IPL before he getting injured. And with Shreyas Iyer, he had not played any cricket since, you can say, January of this year. That's like 8 months now of no cricketing action, and you're walking into an Asia Cup or a World Cup. This is no school cricket. This is serious cricket we're talking about. And nobody gets such lateral entries unless you are school owner's son, or your team owner's son, or your someone's son in normal parlance as in such levels. I don't think we should be reliant on one particular player, because I think Sanju Samson is a better fit than Shreyas Iyer to make it to the squad, because just because of his numbers, well and good, but I don't think he's really a good fit, because with Shreyas Iyer, again, there are a lot of issues with the short balls, with this, that, a lot of major issues. So I don't, maybe KL Rahul, yes, but Shreyas Iyer is a big no-no for me. That's why he's on standby here.
Yeah, I mean, you are right about the injury part. It is going to be difficult to see what kind of form will, I mean, someone like Shreyas Iyer enter into, because he's not played cricket, as you're right, ever since the new year. Not the new year, but at least ever since January, he's not played, and that's a long time for anyone. And especially playing in the international cricket, batting at that position, you would be expected to be at the top of your game. So you are right in that aspect. But then, if there is time to, if there is time to bring someone like Shreyas Iyer into the squad, this is it. And you would have to say that Shreyas Iyer has been incredible in India wherever he's got an opportunity. He's never let the management down at the number four spot, number 5 spot. So I think in that sense he does deserve. And if it was a World Cup, you would still be a little reluctant to give him the lateral entry. But the amount of performance that he's put up for India at that spot, and the fact that he's been so solid at number 4, I think it deserves a little bit of leeway, at least for the Asia Cup. But then I know you are experimenting again, probably by bringing him in. But I don't want to be, seeing something like what happened during the previous World Cup, the T20 World Cup, where, like Sandipani rightly mentioned, you were trying with Avish Khan for so long because you weren't sure about him. And then finally, you feel like, okay, fine, now Avish Khan won't do the job. So you bring Mohammad Shami in for the World Cup. And I think at this point in time, if you are making a decision in the Asia Cup, it has to be final. So if you're bringing in a Sanju Samson, then that's it. There shouldn't be any more step other than that. And Sanju isn't a bad player, but I think if you look at Sanju and Shreyas, the one thing that you get with Shreyas is the fact that you get more solidity there. You know that he's going to give you at least 30 to 40 runs every second match. Sanju Samson, on the other hand, it's been a little volatile with him. That's the bigger issue, right? For me, if you were to ask me, with a few months remaining, I would have gone with Sanju Samson as well. But now, how long? Now, if you put him in the Asia Cup, you can't put him out in the World Cup. That's just unfair to him. That's also unfair to the next player who comes in instead of Sanju. So if you have to make a decision, it has to be now. And if Shreyas isn't fit, if Shreyas is fit and if you think what he's doing in NCA is good enough, this is the time to integrate him into the squad, or else forget him for the World Cup, maybe the next World Cup.
Okay, next World Cup is what Jaren says, because there were a lot of people who said that Shreyas Iyer should have made the last World Cup at number 4, but then again from 2017, you never gave Shreyas a long run. He was right at number 5, number 6. There was no number 4 as a seal in for him. Maybe we can look at some stats, to start out with as to KL Rahul versus Shreyas Iyer. If it has to come down to a shootout, I mean, we really hope it doesn't come down to a shootout, but if it has to come down to a shootout, let's start out by looking at Shreyas Iyer versus KL Rahul, especially at number 4, number 5, what they have done in the recent past. I mean, if you look at what these both have done in ODI career, obviously, you have to say they both have done a decent enough job, and 46 average, a decent average in ODI career. I mean, at least in modern day cricket, because there's a lot of middle order bats out there who's averaging really high, or you can say, oh wow, they've done a fantastic job. That okay, let's just say these are the best 2 middle order bats. If you look at any other countries, well, in the middle order especially, now KL Rahul started batting middle order since 2020. Right in the maybe in the New Zealand series, where India communicated that Rishabh Pant is not something which we're looking in the one-day format. We're looking at KL Rahul, and he batted beautifully there. You talk about New Zealand series where India were 3 down in the power play in almost every match, and there was KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer trying to rescue the ship. It's another matter that India lost the series 3-0, but then they were the only positive factors out of the entire season. At least you saw a move in the right direction. And you see the average here, 52 average, strike rate of 94 and strike rate of 96 for Shreyas, 200s for both of these players, 750s. Now, if you look at out of 26 innings, KL Rahul has scored more than 9 scores of 50 plus. That's a very good one. And even for Shreyas, they both are very young in their playing days in that particular position, but they've done a decent job. To score even close to 1,000 runs in that area in a very short period of time, in 2 years' time, is no joke. And that's where we have to give due credit to both Shreyas and KL Rahul. I'll come to Sandeep Mani over here. Sandeep, it's obviously the clear thing that these both have been doing a job for them. And now the question is, if at all you have to pick between Shreyas or KL, you are very clear that you're going for KL. But again, the question is, if at all you don't have these both, what happens in that World Cup game? If you are 2 down or 3 down in the power play, who is the best suited batter than Shreyas Iyer or a KL Rahul to come and rescue the ship for you?
I mean, if I don't have the option of both KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer, then I am a bit tied down, and then probably I'll have to only choose between, say, a Sanju Samson and a Surya Kumar Yadav to come in at number 5 and number 6 and do the keeping and the scoring at that. But I mean, if both of them are fit, why do we have to choose between KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer? Why not? I mean, the stat speaks for itself. I think you should give opportunity to both KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer. And you mentioned, okay, Shreyas Iyer hasn't really played cricket since February this year. But then again, that is what class players do. You have the Asia Cup. You have still 9 games till the World Cup. You have 9 games of seeing how Shreyas Iyer is doing in that number 5, number 6 position. Because if you give me a choice, I'll have both KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer. And if KL Rahul is giving me wicket keeping, like if he is doing the duty of the wicket keeper, then I'll have Surya Kumar Yadav as my backup. I mean, then I'll drop Sanju Samson from the squad of 15. And if KL Rahul is not fit enough to keep as of now, then I'll drop Surya Kumar Yadav from the ODI lineup and I'll have Sanju Samson and Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul. Because at this point, I feel that, okay, I mean, if you are looking at Team India looking to prepare their top 15, prepare for the 2023 World Cup since 2020, these 2 players have been instrumental for you. One might say Sanju Samson has an average of 55 in ODIs. Surya Kumar Yadav, you understand, got a lot of opportunities, did not click in the ODI format. I mean, his rope is really thinning right now in the ODI format, of course. But if you talk about Sanju Samson, people will say he has an average of 55, but I'll say that the amount of the case study is very low. I think 13 innings or 12 innings he has in the ODI format. That is too little to judge. You saw Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul have done a consistent, decent job for Team India in the middle orders for 26, 29 innings respectively since 2020. So I feel that since you have given them the role, both of them are fit, give both of them the opportunity to go ahead. If not, then you have Surya Kumar Yadav and Sanju Samson as your standby players who will just come in. And if KL Rahul can, well and good, don't need a wicketkeeper in form of Sanju Samson. Just drop Sanju Samson and get in a Surya Kumar Yadav. Or if you want to try even a Tilak Verma in ODIs, I don't mind that.
Makes sense. Now the question is, lastly, just to put that stat as well, just showing the people as well, because there is a interesting question that does KL get a lot of unnecessary flack or criticism since 2019 World Cup? These are the stats. If you look at two of our best middle order bats, it's been these two, average of 65, 200s, 550s, and Shreyas Iyer scored 100 right there, average of 50 there. Strike rate is good. You can't say strike rate is bad, at least in one day format, given the circumstances. Maybe you can say, and they have got the game to up their strike rate as well. It's not like they both are going to stand there muddle. It's not T20, at least for KL Rahul's defense, that he doesn't have to balance a certain strike rate from the very first go. He can take a little bit of time and up the strike rate. And if you look at most of those innings, our power play batting has been pretty woeful, and he had to come in and rescue the ship. I remember the game in Australia recently where we were 5 down for 80 odd. He got us through against Sri Lanka last this year earlier on, where we were 5 down chasing 200 odd. Again, KL Rahul was there. In Australia, a couple of occasions where we were in serious trouble. KL Rahul came to save us. Shreyas Iyer, yes, you can still say has been another consistent batter that he's going to score 50 more often than not. That's one thing about him, and he's been very consistent in that particular facet of his gameplay. So he's very good against spin, which is very important in that middle overs phase, because from 10 to 40 overs, you need a player who can really rotate strike and take on the spinners, because in India, in conditions like Sri Lanka, you need a batter who can take on the spinners. Yeah, that question before we talk into Surya Kumar Yadav versus Sanju Samson
I
debate.
think I'll just add a small point over here, because I feel that with the stats that you showed, I think KL Rahul has this certain game where he takes some time to get going. So I think he'll be a perfect fit for number 4 position in this Indian unit. And since we don't have a proper finisher, because Ravindra Jadeja and Hardik Pandya haven't been doing the job for us in the ODI format of late, because they are really struggling to get up the ante in crucial points, you can get in Hardik Pandya or a Ravindra Jadeja in at number 5. Jadeja just to play with the opposition with the right hand left hand combination. And you can also have a Hardik Pandya come in at number 5, who will take some time and then get going. And Shreyas Iyer at number 6. I think he has been one of the more attacking, counter-attacking players that I've seen, who no matter you lose 4 for 50, Shreyas Iyer is there scoring at 110, going at a strike rate of 110, 120, still keeping you in the game if you have a target of
I
well
don't
in
think
excess of
Shreyas Iyer
300.
should be a finisher. That's where I like to disagree with you.
Not a
I think,
finisher. I'm saying he's a very good fit for India at number 6 while
but I
chasing.
still think he's done a lot of the runs at number 4. It's just unfair now that you're pushing him down to number 6. Jen, I'll come to you here. Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul, whatever having said, we've had a lot of our reservations with injuries and all. But just looking at the numbers, sheer numbers, they deserve their lateral entry, as you rightly mentioned. But who would you play where? KL at 5, Shreyas at 4, or KL at 4, Shreyas at 5? What is your ideal way to go? Because at least that gives you a little bit of solidity. Because Kai has not given me anything to say that, oh, he's going to come and rescue them. Even if he's going to do that, he's going to come in last 15 overs and do a job. And Hardik is still highly volatile. He's not going to be a consistent number 5 to save you when you're 10 for 3. He can't do that. I don't think even Sky can do that. You saw that against Australia, where Sky was sent in at number 4 against the moving ball. He was nowhere. I mean, having said everything in T20 cricket, in longer format of the game, Sky was found out. And Sky was found out big time. He got off a knot in 3 of the occasions. And not just that, in 2 of the occasions, he looked like he was nowhere there when the ball was moving around. So those are worrying things. If Sky and Hardik are my 5 and 6, at least Shreyas and KL gives me slight bit of solidity.
You're right about it, because the issue with Suryakumar Yadav has been, again, as you mentioned, the moving ball against the likes of Mitchell Stark. He was just found out wanting, really. But now, I mean, if you really have to ask me the question, I think for me it'll be 5 for KL Rahul and 4 for Suryakumar. I mean, for Shreyas Iyer rather, because that's where they've done their individualistic best. If you look at the numbers for Shreyas Iyer, number 4, he's at an average of 47, strike rate of 94. He's only done better at one position for India, and that is number 3. And if you look at KL Rahul again, his best positions for best ever position for India has been number 5, where he's at an average of 57, strike rate of 99. So that means, if you look at these numbers already, you would say that, I think, at least based on data, they really slot themselves into number 4 and number 5 respectively. Iyer at 4 and KL at 5. So that's pretty much not a difficult choice. It's only about the fact whether they'll be able to play in the same fashion or not.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And now this is where, if you look at their performance against top six teams as well, because one of the biggest taglines with KL Rahul is he's a minnow basher. And let's just put that aside for some time. Against top six ODI teams, he's done a good job. And Australia,
I mean,
England,
KL Rahul is a minnow basher in the T20I format, where
yeah,
strike
that's
rate
why
is
I think
over
we
80.
should set that aside in one day cricket at least. I've always maintained KL Rahul as a middle order bat in all formats is the way to go. Nobody really mentions me about it, but I've seen him, and I think that's also because he's not the best player against new ball, is what I personally feel. I think he thinks a lot when he is like playing with a new ball. Should he attack? Should he defend? And that's not a good thing because at least when he's coming in the middle order, he gets to face spin a little bit. Then he can face the fast bowlers when they're slightly tired, which helps him to score runs. And if you remember, if you really followed KL Rahul in his earlier days, he used to be a middle order bat in Karnataka team. And when he came into Indian team as well, for the one day or T20s, he used to bat number 4, number 5, and that's where he made his game up to opening position. Okay, fine, you've converted him as an opener, but at least it's good that they're shooting him at number 5 here and number 4 is Shreyas Iyer. But let's talk about another debate. You have already seen the squad. Sandeep, now the question is, if you're getting Shreyas Iyer, maybe you're getting him instead of who? Sanju Samson or a Surya
Yeah, I
Kumar
mean,
Yadav?
if KL Rahul is keeping, then I am getting him in place of Sanju Samson. If KL Rahul is not keeping, then I'm getting him in place of Surya Kumar Yadav.
Okay, so the question now here is, okay, if KL Rahul is keeping his coverage of Sanju Samson, but on what basis do you really drop Sanju and keep Sky in the team? Because if you look at Sky's numbers, they're off in one day cricket. Okay, the numbers are like what? Numbers are pretty bad at this point. I mean, if you look at the way in which he's averaging 21 odd, and Sanju Samson is averaging 50, and he has not done anything to prove you that okay, fine, this is the player you can maintain in the team.
Yeah, I think it is going to be very harsh on Sanju Samson as well. But as I said, I think both Sanju Samson and Surya Kumar Yadav are my standby options for now. I think in the playing 11, I won't give them a go if both KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer are fit. If they are not fit, then you have the option of choosing between Sanju Samson and Surya Kumar Yadav. I went ahead with Surya Kumar Yadav because I mean the dominance that he showed in T20Is and the glimpses he showed in the T20I series against West Indies as well. I mean, he was getting those starts and he was just unable to convert them. So I mean, it's a 50-50 call. You might go with Sanju Samson, you might go with Surya Kumar Yadav, but Sanju Samson hasn't looked in the best of forms in recent times as well. Yes, he got some runs today, but the way in which he's also a very volatile asset. If you talk about volatile assets and Hardik Pandya and Surya Kumar Yadav not being dependable in the ODI format, I think Sanju Samson has had a very small a sample of matches under him to prove that 55 average. I think as you give him more opportunities, that is going to dip. And with the current form that he is in, he will give you those 70-80 run not out knocks, but that is going to come in between 3 or 4 games. And I think similar was the case with Ishan Kishan as well. When he started off his ODI career, he was actually soaring with an average of close to 65-70. He got that double hundred, but then you saw once he was pushed into that middle order bat where he was not really comfortable. Also, Sanju Samson coming in at number 5, number 6. I don't know how much comfortable he will be to sort of take the attack right from ball one, and he might be that kind of a volatile player. So I mean, I have gone ahead with Surya Kumar Yadav, but I wouldn't mind if you have Sanju Samson in place of Surya Kumar Yadav as well, because both of them, according to me, are not. I mean, not the best 11 that India can have going forward if Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul are fit.
Yeah, I agree with that because especially when it comes to that particular asset as well. I mean, Jared, I'll come to you on this as well because Sanju Samson, you have your say in that he's also volatile, but you have to also consider the fact that for the longer run, you can say Surya Kumar Yadav is maybe one innings away from maybe proving his mettle in the one day format, at least as a finisher. He can maybe come in at number 6 and do a job for you. I don't personally think that he's done it so far for India, and shown his weaknesses. But at least if you are going to see him as a finisher in this team, Hardik at 5. I'm just talking about a scenario where Shreyas Iyer is not fit enough to make it. In that case, Hardik goes at 5, and Surya comes in at like the 6th role, who can play the finisher's role. and he can play the spin well. And if he can at least do one fourth of what he's doing in T20 cricket, at least half of what he's doing in T20 cricket, that'll be good enough for India to do a brilliant finish in almost every game they play.
I mean, to be very frank, people, now the question here is really what is the mental block that someone like Suryakumar Yadav faces? If it is just the fact that he feels 50 overs is a lot of overs and a lot of stuff like that, so then he feels the need to survive longer. That's what I feel. At number six, he'll do a lot better job, a much better job. But then now the question being, whether him or Sanju Samson. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, Sanju Samson's only played half the amount of matches that Suryakumar Yadav played, exactly the half. Where Suryakumar Yadav had 24 innings, and that too very well divided in different positions. He's played two. I think if you just look at the fact that in the middle order, he's played 5 innings as number four, 11 at number five, five at, and he's never really clicked anywhere, either of those places. But if you look at Sanju Samson at number six, he's done an incredible job. I know he's only played 4 matches, but then to the argument to what Sandipani said, as if he gets more chances that the average might fall, which is fair. It's true, and it always does happen, right? The more matches you get, the more exposed you are. The bowling team has that much more look at you, and they know how to go after you. But at this point in time, Suryakumar Yadav's gotten 24 chances. He's really not impressed. At number five, he's done a decent job, but then you would say that Sanju Samson, who's probably played as many innings as him at number five, or he's scoring at an average of 52. Now, Sanju at number six is incredible for India. Average of 90, strike rate of 117, which is, I think, perfect for him. And a number five, number six batter in a 50 overs cricket, you can say he comes out as an opener in a T20 format, because then you've got close to 20 to 15 overs left still to bat on a very average day. If your team has performed, lost 3 wickets or so by that point in time, or 4 wickets by the 35th over, you would expect Sanju to walk in then. So Sanju is pretty much used to surviving those 15 to 20 overs. And I know Suryakumar Yadav can do it as well, but we've given him so many chances. Now, do we really have enough rope to wait for him to come good, or is it time to look at someone else? This is the only opportunity there. And as I said, whatever roles you assign people in the Asia Cup, I think that those roles should be assigned to those players in the one day World Cup as well, until and unless an injury really comes in, because you have to trust the process now. Because if you bring in any other player, it's not fair to both the players, the one who played that role in the Asia Cup and also to the one who's coming in, because you're expecting a lot from someone who's just playing for the team in the World Cup.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's one of the reasons why I was very shocked at a lot of pundits going after Tilak Verma to be part of that World Cup squad, and Yashasvi Jaiswal and who not, because it's too late for them. I mean, I can definitely understand if it's Champions Trophy in 2025, but just to bring a player and blood him straight into a World Cup, I mean, you made that mistake in 2019 with Rishabh Pant just walking. I'm not saying he did a bad job, but it's not the most ideal place to try out any player in the World Cup or the big tournaments. Let's
And
go to the bowling side of things.
you had to have Rohit Sharma sit out of the 2011 World Cup for us to win.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. I mean, you had a set squad in 2011. That's one of the reasons you won. And you had roles defined. You had a good middle order bat coming in, and Yuvraj and Suresh Raina and Yusuf Pathan doing the job for you whenever you needed players. And you had Dhoni doing that in the most important occasion. And you had openers clicking all the time. So you really did not want, you really not had to go out there and experiment at the last moment at least. But here the question now comes to the bowling side of things. Now we've sorted out. Let's be very clear. We all are on the same agenda. That is Shreyas and KL, if they are fit, they walk into the team. The only point of concern is Sanju versus Sky, which I think I'm favoring towards Sanju. I think when Jaren is favoring towards Sanju. But with Sandipani, I think he has gone with Surya Kumar Yadav just because of what he can possibly bring into the table with the finishing skills. So that is our team for the middle order. We've chosen our batters. So it's Sanju, Shreyas, KL, who are the team as of now with the majority picks, and Ishan is a backup opener. But let's go to the lower middle order and the bowlers pick right now. Now, one of the reasons we have not picked maybe one of the biggest names when it comes to T20 format is Yuzi Chahal. We've not picked him here. Now, the tournaments are going to be in subcontinent, both the Asia Cup and it's going to be in the World Cup is in India. Would you have an extra spinner, or would you just be tend to go in with that extra seaming option? Now here you can tend not to pick Surya Kumar Yadav or Sanju Samson. Let's end that debate and just go in with one of them. I mean, what you can do is pick Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, and then instead of a Surya Kumar Yadav Sanju Samson debate, you can maybe pick a Yuzi Chahal there. So, what is your ideal pick there? I'll start off with Jaren, and then maybe I can bring in Sandeepani as well on that particular debate.
Yeah, it's still Chehel for me because he is one of India's best out there. And I mean, if you just look at the wickets that have been taken, the most wickets that have been taken ever since the World Cup last year, and you'll see Chehel's list right there. He's not further off from the likes of Mohammad Siraj, Kuldeep Yadav as well. I think he's taken 37. There we go. He's taken 37 wickets for India at an average of 28.89, which is just phenomenal. And playing in the subcontinent, I think that's only going to improve. So for me, he has to play, and then you are also, because you've got that extra all rounder now in Jadeja, you can afford to play Kulcha together, I think, and maybe it's going to be uber attacking. I mean, set up by India. India is not known for it, but I think it will give India that extra bit of that extra bit of edge over other teams because that's one thing I feel. I know it's with Chahal coming in again, you'll probably miss out on a batter, and the batters will be under extra pressure. But then I again feel that someone like Yuzvendra Chahal can contribute to India, probably even reduce a few runs down by the way of wickets by picking those important wickets. And the last World Cup in 2019, we did see both these players perform well. So it's not a bad idea for India to bring them in conditions that will be really favorable.
I mean, that's where we have to draw lines because if Chahal comes in, then your batting only goes late. And if you look at the top of this particular chart as well, at number 8, you have a Shardul Thakur. And we've all complained about him enough, saying that he's highly volatile. But he's been the highest wicket taker by a certain mile now. Now, if you look at number Chahal and Shardul Thakur, there's a 15 wicket comparison difference over there. And I don't know what it is with Shardul. Whenever he's there to break a partnership. He's your first change. He comes in and picks up a wicket straight after power play, and he picks up wickets in those 20 overs to 20, 30 overs mark as well. Not the best of bowlers in the death, but he can do a job in the middle overs, and he can maybe bowl 6 overs. That's all what you need of him. And now the question is, do you rely on him as a batter here? Now his batting contributions are certainly questionable because I know he has not gotten a lot of chance to bat as well, but at least there's a sense of security when he comes into bat at number 8. Now, if you look at all the best teams across the world at this point, they've all got a number 8 batter. And with India, if you're picking up Chahal or anybody, that particular rope really runs out. Then you are looking at Jadeja and the tail. The tail is very big. You already saw it in the West Indies series, if you remember, Sandeepani, that how big the tail was. So, in your opinion, who should be India's number 8? Is it going to be Shardul Thakur? Is it Zubendra Chahal? Now, we'll choose between Shami and Siraj later. Prasidh Krishna or who? Because Kuldeep Yadav is a fixin. Jasprit Bumrah is a fixin for sure. Now, the question is, who is India's number 8? Is it an extra spinner? It can also be Akshar Patel. Let's also add him into the team. I think Akshar Patel also makes it in the team. Now, the question also is Akshar Patel versus Chahal. For me, that's where I can draw a debate as to say, okay, maybe Akshar Patel, maybe not given that extra bit of rope. Maybe you can pick a Chahal instead of Akshar Patel because there's already a Jadeja. But if you have to pick one player here, I'm giving you options: Chahal, Akshar, Shardul, and Prasidh Krishna. Who makes it to your team as a number 8? And as a number 8 in sense, who makes it your team as an extra bowler?
Yeah, I think it's a very very tricky question because I mean I ideally would have wanted Chahal especially because of the Kulcha combination, and with Jadeja you have three spinners, three different variety of spin, that is 30 overs of spin, which is going to be very hard to tackle for any opposition. But since I pointed out in the West Indies series that the batting order looked really weak, because if you have to have a Kuldeep Yadav coming in at number 8, I think that is a huge cause of concern, because we have seen India over the last 2-3 years lose wickets in clusters, and we have seen India tumble at 80 for 4, 120 for 5, 110 for 5 on certain occasions. And then I think the owners will be very very big high on Jadeja to perform along with the remaining batter to establish a partnership, and then get India to safety, and then accelerate. So I think just because of that reason, I think I'll go ahead with Shardul Thakur at number 8, because you can't have Prasidh Krishna, because ideally as a bowler I would have had both. Ideally rate Prasidh Krishna, Yuzvendra Chahal, Akshar Patel, all higher than Shardul Thakur in terms of bowling abilities or bowling
Just
quality.
take this question as well because this is a very interesting bowling which is given. Because if you want to look at the best bowling trio you have, this is India's best bowling, fast bowling
Yeah.
trio with Siraj, Shami, Bumrah. Which means again the question is Shardul doesn't make it to the team. Then Kuldeep bats
That means
eight,
you have to
and
have a
Jadeja.
Kuldeep Yadav at 8 and Shami at 9, which is very volatile because you
Okay, you
need.
tell me, how much do you give the volatility tag to Shardul as well? Because Shardul is not going to walk in and give me 30 runs in every match. Now you're talking
Not in
about that
every match, not
match
in every
today,
match, but I think,
like
yeah,
20 runs, 30 runs. I agree to you.
yeah, but I also feel India will not lose 5-6 wickets in every match early on. So India would probably need Shardul Thakur's services probably once or twice in the tournament with the bat. And if he can provide that with the bat, and since we saw the stats, he has been India's highest wicket taker in the ODI format since the 2019 World Cup. So you can't just drop Shardul Thakur based on his bowling abilities, which I feel is a lot lower than a Yuzvendra Chahal or a Prasidh Krishna. I think they have much more. They are much better wicket takers. They are much more aggressive, and then they have a proper. I mean, they have much more discipline in terms of bowling abilities. But especially because of that number 8 factor that Shardul Thakur will provide with the bat, I will go ahead with Shardul Thakur with the bat, and probably you can have just Jasprit Bumrah as another pacer, because I feel you can have two pacers and Hardik Pandya can do the job of the third pacer, because we have seen that he is bowling a lot. He was bowling a lot in the West Indies series where it was not really needed. So Hardik Pandya can really come in, and if he can give you 5 or 6 overs, that takes a lot of load off from a bowler like Shardul Thakur, who will, like you mentioned, will bowl only 6 to 7 overs. That will be an ideal fit. And with Kuldeep Yadav, you can probably have Yuzvendra Chahal as well. If you want 3 spinners, you can have Yuzvendra Chahal, Kuldeep Yadav, Ravindra Jadeja, and you can have Shardul Thakur, Bumrah, and Hardik Pandya doing the job. But Hardik Pandya will open the bowling along with Bumrah. Uh,
Are you telling me that you'll pick Shardul Thakur ahead of a Bumrah and sorry over Siraj and Shami here? That's ridiculous, man. I mean, I really
I
don't
mean, I
buy
mean
you.
that. I mean that's a way too far if you want to take 3 spinners. And because I want to keep Shardul at number 8 just because of that batting stability, just for Jadeja or Hardik Pandya to play more freely. Because if they get into a shell, we have seen what a 250 run chase or a 260 run chase becomes extremely difficult. The series that India lost to Australia really hurt, especially because the middle order couldn't get the job done. You saw a phase where Indian openers and number 3 were not really scoring big, and India were consistently losing. That is something which we can't afford. And just to give them that extra space, I would like to have Shardul Thakur in the team. Probably you can't have both Yuzvendra Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav. I think Kuldeep Yadav is a fix. So you can have Bumrah, Siraj, Kuldeep Yadav, Shardul Thakur, and Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja. I think that will be the ideal combination going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think Siraj will get the nod ahead of Shami because Siraj also brings in that death bowling angle as well. He balls well both up front and the death. And Bumrah and Siraj, I think that's a better stability with Shardul as a third seamer. I'm just talking about the playing 11 perspective. But if you have to pick Akshar as well, now, Jen, I'll ask you this. On spinning conditions, I mean, this particular comment from Shinwari says Chahal, Kuldeep, Jadeja, Bumrah, Siraj is the best way to go in spinning conditions. But I think India would rather pick Akshar, Kuldeep, Jadeja, Bumrah, Siraj in spinning conditions because again, if you have to replace Shardul, you need to replace him with another player who can bat a little bit. Now that is where Akshar comes in handy, and he's going to be straight shooting. Now because of all these considerable factors, I certainly think Chahal doesn't make it to the World Cup squad. If at all there is a possible injury, he'll be only a replacement for that injury for a Kuldeep or whoever else it is. For me, I don't see him in that 15-member squad because of this very reason. And he's not picked up wickets. I mean, in terms of the recent past in the one days at least. I mean, he's been slightly wavy for India in both T20 internationals and even in the one day format. So I think recency bias again clicks in. So Chahal doesn't make it to the Asia Cup until unless they want to announce a 17-member squad for Asia Cup where they want to announce everybody in. I think that's something which they will do because Indian selectors are not bold enough to go the 15-member squad for the Asia Cup. They'll announce at least 18 members for the Asia Cup, and then to make them feel good, they'll go with 15. Who doesn't perform in Asia Cup, they'll cut them off in the World Cup. So that's how they will certainly go. So in that case, who does Akshar? Akshar is the one who will get the nod ahead, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you have to replace someone like Shardul, then you have to replace him with the most likeliest of replacements, and that would be Akshar Patel, no doubt at all. But yeah, I think I would have still loved to see the Kulcha combination together. But you guys are right for that. We will need one of either Bumrah or Siraj to start batting, and that's not going to happen at least in the next 2 months. So unfortunately, I'll have to shelve the dream of seeing them together, ball together. But aside from that, yeah, it has to be Akshar Patel who will probably come into that as a replacement. Also, when you bring in someone like a Shardul Thakur in, will give a little bit of weight off of the likes of someone like Hardik Pandya, whom you wouldn't have to ball post the power play. I think Hardik Pandya might definitely be balling in the power play at least in the second half of the power play. After the fifth over is gone, you're trying to probably hold Bumrah back for the main. That's last 40 overs. I mean, last 10 overs rather, and that's probably where you will see a combination of Shardul and someone like Hardik Pandya come together. And mind you, I think Shardul isn't a bad bowler in Indian conditions. He's someone who becomes a lot better in these conditions, especially if the pitch is slightly sluggish, because he loves using those slower deliveries just to get those wickets which come out of the blue. So that's where he isn't exactly a bad candidate as well. I know his batting is still something I'm a little, not really confident in, because he's very volatile when it comes to his batting. On days he'll save your team after they're 6 wickets down, like he did against RCB, and then there'll be days where he will just become another nail in the coffin. So it's not really an insurance by bringing someone like Shardul in, but it does give you little bit more comfort when Shardul walks in number 8 than the likes of Kuldeep Yadav.
Right. I mean, we should also consider Hardik can also ball here. So that is where maybe the third or the fourth seamer is a question over here. But yeah, finally, before we move into the last bit of it as well, now let's go to the playing 11 side of things. Now we've almost come in terms with the 15 who should be going in. Who's your playing 11 ideally, Sandeep Bani, if you have to really pinpoint at the number one, number two, number three, which is like a fixed
Yeah.
position. Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill, and Rohit Sharma are the fixed top three. But there were suggestions that Virat Kohli should possibly bat at number four, and then Ishan Kishan to open the batting, and Shubman Gill at three, just to lengthen the batting order. This came from India's former coach, which is Ravi Shastri, and he also said that he also had plans in 2019 World Cup to do that. So, and if you remember 2011 World Cup, Virat Kohli did bat at number four.
Yeah, but I wouldn't really like that. That is only that should only come into place if there is an injury with KL Rahul or Shreyas Iyer. Then probably you would need to strengthen that middle order, and then Virat Kohli comes in at number four. Then that won't be an issue. But Virat Kohli came in at number four in 2011 World Cup because India had three proper openers who were in great form. So that is a time when you can really move into number four and give the youngsters a chance. But with Ishan Kishan, I don't really have the faith in Ishan Kishan to come in at number three and really toying the ball from ball one. So I think in this sort of scenario, you can probably see Shubman Gill come in at number three, Ishan Kishan and Rohit Sharma open. But I wouldn't ideally like that. If you ask me my top 11 or my playing 11, I would say Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli top three. And then you have KL Rahul, Shreyas Iyer number four, number five, Hardik Pandya at six, Ravindra Jadeja at seven, Shardul Thakur at eight, Mohammad Siraj at 9, Bumrah at 10, and Kuldeep Yadav at 11. I think this should be the ideal combination for the Asia Cup and for the World Cup as well, unless it is a very spin-friendly conditions. Then you can have
That's
Akshar
what
Patel in
the
space.
question is also, Jen, I'll come to you on this. In Chennai on October 8th, what the bowling combination should be? I mean, three spinners or three pieces. For me, Chennai, it looks like it should be three spinners, isn't it? Because you're going to be playing in Chennai, you're going to be against Australia on that day, and you don't want to throw in a Shardul Thakur there, because I think the likes of Mitchell Marsh, Marcus Stoinis, Glenn Maxwell, they will feast on a bowler like Shardul Thakur over a spinner there. I mean, there you can even take a risk of playing Yuzi Chahal as well if he's part of your squad. Or else it should be three spinners and two paces ideally on that day as Hardik as your third seamer.
But then, I mean, you'll also have to consider the fact that Australia have got a lot of left-handers compared to some of the other teams. So throwing in Akshar Patel, it could also go against that matchup as well. But then, if
You
you
have
have
two
to ask me
left-handers
between
in top
Akshar and
seven. That's it.
but you have to ask me between Akshar and Shardul, I will definitely go with Akshar. I mean, regardless of the matchup, for me, I'm one of those people who believe that if you are an international level bowler, you can ball at the right-handed and the left-handed. It's not really difficult. And someone like Akshar, with the angle that he balls in, you've seen sometimes against left-handers, he does tend to ball it a little wide round the wicket as well. Take it away from the arc. So I for me it has to be Axar, because then you're really going playing to the strength, playing to your strength, and playing to the pitch as well. And Axar, I mean, I rate Axar a slightly better batter than Shardul. Not a lot of difference there. But if you have to give me a number eight batter, regardless of the pitch, I'll probably go with Axar as well. The only reason why you probably go with Shardul over Axar on another day is because you can trust his pace bowling a little bit more, because you don't want to throw in three spinners unless there's help for spinners as well. So that's where Shardul otherwise walks in the team. But if there is any condition which is sluggish or turning like it's going to be in Chennai, I would obviously go with Aksa. He'll give me more value for money than maybe someone like Shardul.
Right, rightfully so as well. And final thoughts, as for me as well, I'd rather go with three spinners in that Chennai wicket before we really conclude. At least in Sri Lanka, I'd like to see in the first game in against Pakistan, which we play on September the 3rd. Depending on the conditions, it'll be great if we can go with three spinners. I think except for Ahmedabad, Dharamshala, or if I can pick up maybe to an extent, where are we playing? Where else are we playing? Maybe Hyderabad, Bangalore as well. I don't see a lot of pitches having a lot of pace bowling conditions. Maybe you can take that due as a major issue because you're going to be playing in October, November. Then you can curtail on not going with spinners. Other than Chennai, Delhi, Lucknow, all these pitches are going to turn, at least from what they are likely to do. So from their former, from the past things, what you've seen in the recent IPL or previously as well, these pitches will show you a little bit of turn. So you would ideally like to go with three spinners and drop a Shardul Thakur, but given all these conditions, I still think India will go with three seamers plus one in Hardik and two spinners in Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav. I think Kuldeep Yadav is your number one player in bowling attack at this point because he's been the most consistent. If you look at anyone, he's been the most troublesome as well against all teams, against all opposition. So Kuldeep Yadav is number one for you in that list, even ahead of Bumrah. But let's talk about Bumrah finally before we end it. What do you guys make of him? I mean, he seemed fine to me. He looked like he was bowling well, hitting the rhythm well, getting the ball to move a little bit here and there. So anybody first to you, then I'll come to Jaren on this.
Yeah, I think I need to drop. But yeah, really love to see Bumrah in the first game itself. Picked up 2 wickets in the first over after coming back. And today as well, he looked really clinical. Went for 8 runs in the first over, but the way he came back, a maiden over, 7 runs and 2 wickets in the next three. It's the Bumrah that we want. And I think as much game time as we can give him before the ODI World Cup will be a great thing for him in the build up for to get his confidence back and to assert the dominance that he had before the injury. And just because to see the way Bumrah went in this series just gives me the confidence that a Shreyas Iyer or a KL Rahul coming back in the Asia Cup will go well. I mean, will go the way they were playing before the injury as well, because class is permanent, form is temporary, as we know. Let's hope that this happens, and really excited to see Bumrah against Pakistan and against Sri Lanka and all the other teams in the Asia Cup, and to see how he goes. But I guess I'll just drop off.
Oh yeah, he's just dropping off with that particular thing. So yeah, I mean he's right mentioning that class is permanent and form is temporary because Jack Callis at the age of 47 scored a brilliant 50 today in all the US Premier League games. That really shows you can wake up from your sleep and score runs if you have enough class which is inbuilt in you. Finally, I mean the Bumrah question comes to you as well, Chen, because we've spoken about it in depth as to what he can possibly bring. This was his speeds in that game on the first T20. It was slightly slower to start off with, but he was picking up on speed. Today it was much better than what you saw last time around. He's definitely gradually increasing speed, which is a good thing. And he slightly changed his release points as well, which is right after the injury. He looked good. You reckon he's ready to go to ball that 10 overs mark? Now he only balled 8 overs in the last 3 days. He's ready to go at 10 in a stretch and to ball the toughest overs against tougher oppositions.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like he's missed a beat. He's been bowling really well. Only thing that even I noticed was the pace. It was slightly less, but he's hitting the right lens, and it was a very Bumrah-esque spell that we saw in both the matches. So I don't think the injury affected him as much as as much as in his rhythm, because he's really worked on it and he's come back almost as fresh as Bumrah we remember. So that's a very good news. But obviously this was Ireland, so that also has to be taken into consideration. Now this is a good start for him, a good warm up for him, but we are going to see him face off against some of the tougher oppositions in Asia Cup and also the Australia series right before the World Cup. So that's where the real challenge is going to be. But definitely optimistic signs for Indian fans.
Yeah, absolutely in that because I agree with you because firstly, Bumrah is your trump card for this World Cup and you need him. You not have him in three major tournaments. One is WTC final, the World T20, and of course one of them was major blow for us. Two major finals rather, and you really saw what really India had to miss because you really expected him to return back for the T20 World Cup. He did not. Then you waited till the WTC. He did not. Even for Mumbai Indians, for that example, he was a major miss in the last year. It's IPL, so it's about time he comes back and he comes back in that rhythm. So far, it's good news. He balled well. He's been leading the team well. Now Asia Cup is going to be massive. First ever time he's going to be bowling 10 overs against a strong opposition like Pakistan in unfavorable fast bowling conditions because Sri Lanka is hot, dry, humid. It's not going to be easy unless you're going to be bowling in the later on in the day where you're going to see the breeze blow in. But I think you're going to play a lot of these games in Palikele. I think they're not going to get a lot in there. And it's not near the right near the coastal area or something. But either way, you really hope that Bumrah is back in those Asia Cup games as well because he would want a good Asia Cup before the World Cup, at least to get back in rhythm. Now he'll have good 5 matches at least before the World Cup to get into completed. Then come October 8th, we can really hope that Bumrah is well and truly back because 9 games is a lot of games for a player to get back in rhythm and at least if we can take those 9 or 7 games at least, and if we can be good by the eighth or ninth game, that'll be positive signs for India. I think India have to be patient with all of these players who are coming back from injury, 9 games or let's say 8 games for that matter. We give them those 8 games and see how things stand. But yeah, 8 games are very few number of games, but then you'll have to take the risk at this point of three at least before this massive World Cup and see how things go. That's about it from us. Tomorrow we'll be back analyzing the squad once it's announced. I think there's nothing much to talk about it because today in depth we have been able to analyze it. So tomorrow we'll be back and talking about it. Thank you all for joining. Have a good time. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Also share this video and check out Boomer 11 app on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store as well. And if you are new to the app, check out our premium contest if you're in the GCC region or else anywhere else in the world. Check out our free to play feature and also the predictor feature for absolutely free of cost. You can do the predictor feature with Boomer 11. Have a good time, all of you. See you all very soon. Bye bye.